Panthers head back to class, but online. And the university will begin assessing coronavirus tests this upcoming week. All that and more on Panther Report News. Hello and welcome to PRN. My name is Kevin Sanchez. In response to the coronavirus pandemic, we will now be filming all of our shows from our homes. But we have a team full of reporters bringing you the latest on the situation. Before the break, the University System of Georgia suspended classes for 2 weeks. Shortly after, they transitioned classes completely online. This week, Georgia State University's students made a transition that at the beginning of March may not even have been imagined. From Valdosta, Georgia, PRN's Keelan Berrien tells us how those students are making the change.
Honestly, it makes me kind of sad because in all of my classes, I've made a group of friends or like a study group. So we all would come together to study for exams or do the homework together or just brush up on some notes.
The University System of Georgia told its institutions to shift coursework online.
We don't have that ease of access anymore. It just makes it harder because now some people still have our job. We're just moving on different schedules now.
And students are at home just like this, with their books open and laptops turned on, ready to learn. While some students may enjoy handling their classwork in a virtual setting rather than a classroom filled with students, there's still some room for distraction.
Kind of can just do whatever you want if you want. So I definitely see procrastination happening because Netflix is a quick button away.
But the university system is still making ways to accommodate students to have a smooth transition. With limited access to resources, the Student Success Programs still remain, giving help to those who may have a harder time learning.
Ample supplemental instruction is still happening. It happens live. The schedules are on our website, and we've already contacted all students that have courses in SI. At the Perimeter College side, our learning and tutoring centers are still open, and we're still hosting live one-on-one tutoring sessions. Academic coaching has had 60 appointments in the past 2 days.
And the Student Success Programs offers a limited number of hotspots and tablets for the students that may not have internet access at home. I'm Keelan Berrien, PRN.
Thank you, Keelan. And for now, this continues. The University System of Georgia announces plans to continue online classes for May and summer classes with limited exceptions because of COVID-19. The announcement says they expect to return on campus this fall if they receive guidance from the CDC and the Georgia Department of Public Health. With these changes comes opportunities that will be missed. Georgia State announces plans to cancel spring commencement due to the restrictions on large events. But the University System of Georgia tells its institutions to make creative alternatives. From Jonesboro, Georgia, PRN's Tyreek Wynn gives us the latest about what the university is doing.
Graduation. It's that big event of the year that all seniors look forward to. Unfortunately, that may not be a reality for some seniors around the world. On March 18th, Georgia State President Mark Becker announced the university will not be conducting graduation ceremonies this spring. The order came from the University System of Georgia. We talked to Jessie Weintraub, the Director of University Events Management, via Skype, and she says she understands what the seniors are going through during this time.
Commencement is my favorite event. It's wonderful to see the happy tears and the grads walking across the stage, and it's I'm right there at the stage every single time, and it's just we're all really sad and disappointed, and I know that they are too, and we really are looking forward to honoring them once it's safe to do so in the future.
Since the news came, we spoke to Georgia State seniors to get their thoughts and opinions about Georgia State deciding to cancel graduation. Georgia State senior Diamond Alessandra shares a common sentiment from her class.
I just feel like as May 2020 graduates, as people who have gone through the 4 years of college, dealt with their obstacles and having their final ceremony, that's supposed to be special for us.
J. Pierre Bowling is devastated about the situation, but looks ahead and wonders what Georgia State will do to recognize his class.
I'm excited to see what's next. What's the next plan? We understand that this is something that's out of their hands, but what are you all going to do to accommodate us as students who pay money, who pay tuition and pay time, so much time. Spend time, dedicated to not just the books, but, making sure that Georgia State University remains, so innovative and so diverse.
Weintraub said the university events management team is communicating to figure out what the new plan will be to honor the class of 2020.
We know how disappointing this is for our grads and their families and friends, and we are trying to look right now for appropriate ways to honor them and their academic accomplishments once it's safe to do so, and once this public health crisis is over and large gatherings are once again safe. Once that happens, we're still very much in the middle of it. We will turn our attention to when, where, how to do so, and we will definitely communicate with all of our graduates at that time.
Now, while students may not be able to walk across the stage in person, students at the University of Georgia are working together to create their own virtual graduation on Minecraft. Here at home, I'm Tyreek Wynn, PRN.
Thanks, Tyreek. But these unforeseen changes not only affect students, but also the university. 40% refunds were issued to students this week. These come from student fees, housing, meal plans, but how do these total up? Collectively, Georgia State, Georgia Southern, SCAD, and Emory could owe students up to $76 million in refunds and revenue that would normally come from auxiliary sales and services. According to the Atlanta Business Chronicle, across the state, that number is expected to be $180 million. During this pandemic, there are voices that oftentimes get underreported. For example, Atlanta's homeless shelters. From Cumming, Georgia, PRN's ASHTON Gates spoke to the Gateway Center about the measures that they've had to take for themselves and for those that they serve.
Amid the COVID-19 pandemic, the homeless population are amongst those who don't have access to all of the necessary resources. Homeless shelters are having to change their everyday practices to keep virus spreading at bay. CEO of the Gateway Center, Raphael Holloway, says he has had to adjust and make cleanliness and protection more of a priority.
We began distributing gloves and masks to our staff, but also prioritizing our guests that have any kind of cold symptoms. We also made changes to any staff that was feeling any kind of health issue, that they would stay home until that health issue clears.
The current homeless population in Atlanta is about 3,200 persons. They're more susceptible to catching or passing on the virus. Another issue at play is that they do not all know where or if they can get tested or how they can help to slow the spread of COVID-19. Holloway says not all of them are as informed as they could be.
Some have been very informed, have said that come in with flyers that have been passed out that they keep in their pocket as a reminder. Some are saying that they know about the virus but don't know what services are available.
Many homeless shelters are reaching capacity because of patrons coming in and also not wanting to leave at this time. Holloway says this effect has caused them to be able to help less people in the city.
Due to the education and due to wanting to stay safe, I think we just have had more residents wanting to stay in, which then has caused just an inability to bring in new people who are interested in who have identified as wanting shelter as a solution.
Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms stated that she designated $1 million to help the homeless population during this time, but did not specify what services it would go towards. Her office did not reply for a comment on this matter. ASHTON Gates, PRN.
Thank you, ASHTON. While a lot of the news surrounding COVID-19 may be discouraging, members of the university community are offering messages of optimism. Every evening, Atlanta recognizes the state's health workers at the front lines of the pandemic, and Georgia State President Mark Becker took part in the moment of recognition. See for yourself.
Thank you to all the first responders on the front lines, taking care of all of us, protecting us and caring for those who are sick and in need. Particularly proud of those Georgia State Panthers who are out there. Thank you so much. So proud of you. Go Panthers.
And take a look at this. Both the Georgia State University Police Department and Emory Police Department team up to thank medical professionals at the Emory University Hospital in Midtown. They remind the community that heroes work here. But these aren't the only messages coming from Georgia State. The university also launches an emergency relief fund, collecting donations to support students who are in financial need during this pandemic. Within a day, the fund received over $14,000, and today, the fund has collected over $115,000 from across the country. Dean of Students Michael Sansevero thanks donors in an update.
Our goal is to help our most needy students through adversity with as little disruption to their education as possible. Your gift will help us to achieve this goal. We look forward to keeping you updated as we continue to serve our students. Thank you again for your support.
If you're a student in need, PRN has provided a link to the form in the description of this newscast. But also, take a look at this. Vote Everywhere GSU is also giving back to students. The organization, a part of the Andrew Goodman Foundation, launches a Vote Everywhere emergency grant. 2 students in need during the lockdown will receive a grant of $100. Evan Malborough, ambassador of the organization, says, "We believe that the center of democracy is people. Vote Everywhere is an organization inspired by a man named Andrew Goodman who gave his life to help others. We believe that giving this grant continues in Andrew Goodman's legacy." All you have to do is fill out the application, which is also in the description. Over 20 researchers at Georgia State will begin assessing tests of COVID-19 beginning on Monday. The effort, led by Dr. Julia Hillard, expects to test 1,500 kids each day and 10,000 by the week. Michael Erickson, the interim vice president of Research and Economic Development, tells PRN that the university is very proud to contribute to protecting the public during the crisis. You can read more at gsuprn.com. But more is being done. The University System of Georgia announces it will work with its 26 institutions to provide medical equipment to health workers. Already, they've identified ventilators, personal protective equipment, and other tools needed statewide. The Panther band sets the stage through an online performance. Students submitted their individual parts from their homes to make this collective show. Take a look. The band would have played this week at the Blue and White game at the stadium, and they tell Panthers whose season ended early, "We are with you, we cheer for you." And more organizations at Georgia State are not letting the distance impact them. From Lithonia, Georgia, PRN's Cherie Pruitt tells us what the Student Recreation Services is doing to keep you active.
You know, once we received the notification that, you know, we would be closing that Friday, the 13th, it was like March the 13th, in the afternoon, that all students were asked to leave campus. I think at that point we really just realized, you know, we're going to need to start figuring out a way to engage, you know, our students.
Organizations at Georgia State take engagement to online chat rooms and other online social networks. The Recreational Services encourages students to stay involved with their engaging everyday initiative. Each day, students can exercise with a YouTube video or learn how to make a tent.
Uphill so you don't wake up with a headache. And you always want to be mindful where your door is on your tent.
Director of GSU Recreation Services, Timber Hines, and the team took action to give the resources that many students relied on at the center.
And since you guys had an extended spring break, it gave us a little time to start putting together our remote recreation plan. And so what we did was we came up with basically like a programming schedule virtually so that we could do group fitness classes at home.
But you don't have to exercise alone. The Recreation Services encourages students to have an accountability buddy. There is not an official schedule yet, but you can find updates at GSU Recreation on social media platforms. Cherie Pruitt, PRN.
Thank you, Cherie. Speaking of fitness, I'm kind of overdue for a workout myself. We now turn to PRN's Jet Parker to give us the latest on Georgia State sports. Jet, what do you have for us?
Thanks, Kevin. How's it going, everyone? My name's Jet Parker, and welcome to PRN Sports. We begin this week with the latest on the coronavirus's impact on Georgia State athletics. I was able to sit down with Associate Athletic Director Mike Holmes to speak about what the department is doing in response to the pandemic. Take a look.
The COVID-19 pandemic has impacted all aspects of modern life, including that of sports. I sat down to talk with Associate Athletic Director Mike Holmes to understand the steps that the athletic department is doing to ensure the safety of Georgia State student athletes.
From the student athlete perspective, obviously this week we started online classes. So what we basically, spent the last 2 weeks doing while students were quote unquote on spring break, was figuring out the best ways to help them. And that's in a lot of different ways, not only from the academic side, but from the mental health side, from the physical side. Obviously, our strength and conditioning coaches can't be working with our student athletes on a daily basis to get better for when sports do resume. From the academic side, Brad Horton and his staff used to working with our student athletes, on a face-to-face basis, having tutors, whether it's at the stadium or the sports arena. All of that is now in an online setting. So there is no face-to-face, I guess, person-to-person interaction.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's gone to, whether it's using Zoom or phone calls or FaceTime.
With close to half of the 350 student athletes at Georgia State coming from outside the state or outside the country, it is important that the students that may not be able to leave are accounted for as well.
We've had a lot of students, just go home and, back to where their parents or, we also have a lot of students that live off campus. So it's it's definitely a mix, and when you have 350 student athletes, I'm not going to say there's, 350 unique stories, but there are definitely a lot of different unique stories. And so each one of those has kind of been handled one-on-one or one by one to make the best situation possible. And, the people that can't and haven't been able to leave campus, we've been able to take care of them. And there's still certain things open, whether it's the cafeteria, being able to deliver food, or where you go pick up kind of a brown bag where you're really not still having true interaction with each other or with other people. So that's what I said. It's definitely each situation has been unique.
The NCAA recently announced that all spring student athletes who had their season cut short due to the COVID-19 pandemic will have their eligibility extended. Here's what Mike Holmes had to say about the athletics department reaction to the decision.
So obviously we were 100% for it, and are very happy to see that it passed. We have 26 spring seniors. We're still in the process right now of figuring out who is coming back. I'll use the men's golf example again, just because that's one that's pretty close to me. We had 4 seniors on our team this year. I know for a fact that 2 are ready to come back and want to come back. One has kind of just decided, you know what, hey, it's been a great run. I've had a lot of fun, but it's time for me to kind of move on to the next chapter of my life. And I think one other that's still deciding on it. So once we kind of have a better idea, is the number 15? Is it 20? Is it 25, 26? We'll have a better idea of what exactly that means from a financial perspective.
Jet Parker, PRN.
A staple of the Georgia State women's basketball team has decided to leave the team after 4 seasons in Atlanta. Reporter Crystal White spoke with the former first-team All-Sunbelt star about why she chose to leave Georgia State.
Georgia State's women's basketball team will be without one of their veteran players next season. Jada Lewis has decided to finish her last year at Mercer University. She announced her decision on Instagram with her in a Mercer jersey with the caption, "Last ride, bear down." In a phone interview, Lewis shared why she decided to leave the program.
Just because I felt like it was time. Sometimes in life you have to make decisions that are best for you. And I just felt like it was time for me to move on to something different. I was at peace with leaving with the program. To Georgia State, I love all the administration. I'm thankful for the relationships I was able to build over the 4 years I was there.
Lewis will be gone, but not too far. Mercer University is a little over an hour away from Georgia State. The coaching staff is what led to Lewis to pick Mercer.
It was really an easy one. Their coaching staff, Coach Gardner and Coach Sid specifically, they were very, very genuine in all the things they said. And I really have faith in the direction that they are going with their program.
Mercer's women's basketball team finished this season with an 8-23 record. Lewis said she's going to bring her hard work, grit, and dedication to the team. But before she finishes her last ride, she wants to accomplish one more thing.
And I also want to bring a championship. That's the one thing I feel like I'm missing, that I'm thirsty for and hungry for, is a championship in the SoCon Conference now. So I'm excited for that, and I think we'll have an opportunity to do that next season.
Crystal White, PRN.
It has been a sad time for many at Georgia State, but some are making the most of it. Native Australian Georgia Johnson was preparing to fly home when she was suddenly surprised by her parents and her teammates for an impromptu graduation ceremony. Johnson had this to say about the ceremony. "I had no idea the coaching staff planned anything. I was heading up to the courts to take some fake graduation photos. As I arrived, Beth was on the loudspeaker announcing me. I was completely overwhelmed." It has been a difficult couple of weeks for everyone at Georgia State, but especially those who had their senior season cut short. PRN's Christian Crittenden was able to speak with senior softball player Sydney Stavro about her legacy at Georgia State and the potential of her returning in a Panther uniform.
Honestly, I guess just thank you for being like a second family, a second home, and teaching me so many lessons that I probably wouldn't have learned if I wasn't in a sport, and just showing me how to like bounce back. Football's been such a huge part, I think, of all of our lives that it's hard to kind of just condense everything that we've experienced into just like a few lines. Because like I said, it's been our whole life since most of us were 5, 6, 7, 8. So I think the biggest thing that I was like, I can't just write a few quotes. So I was like, I got to just put all my feelings out there. And like, I'm a big journaler. So I was like, I think if I can write this all out, it'll kind of help me like accept almost like what's been going on and what's happened, because I didn't really know how I felt about it at first, just because it's such a shock, I think, to everyone. I was very, very upset. As you can imagine, with having softball such a big part of my life, like most of us, like that's what we do. I mean, of course it's not who we are, but it's what we do and it's what we love, what we find passion in. So it's like once I found out, I was heartbroken, to say the least. I mean, it's kind of like a knife in the gut, and it kind of took me a second once I read the NCAA's Twitter post online, because that's where I first saw it. It's kind of like a moment of shock, and then after that I was, you can't hold back the tears, because it's just so much emotion is poured into this game, and especially for like my senior year, like I wanted to leave it all out there. So I don't think anyone really knows like the details, because obviously you have to think about scholarships and all of that. And like a lot of the seniors on my team particularly have like graduate school at other schools lined up, or jobs lined up. So a lot of that's hard. Obviously, if the opportunity arises, I'll be back. I'll be back to play again, of course, because like I said, I love the game so much, and that's something that I didn't feel like I had the opportunity to finish how I wanted to finish. So. I've never been on a team that's felt more like a family than this one. Like everything that we do is centered around like doing it for our teammates, not doing it for ourselves. So everything we do in practice, everything we do in the classroom, outside of the classroom, it's all focused on like our teammates.
That's all we've got time for here on PRN Sports. Be sure to follow us at GSUPRN and stay up to date on our new website, gsuprn.com. Now, back to you, Kevin.
Thanks, Jet. While students expected to hear the outcome of the Student Government Association's runoff election on Monday, students actually got a major announcement on Friday. The SGA Election Commission disqualifies presidential candidate Nigel Walton from the runoff election after 2 cases of election fraud. The Student Judicial Board upheld one of the decisions by the Election Commission after Walton made an appeal. This makes Kaylin Thomas, the current Atlanta Speaker of the Senate, the de facto president of SGA's 91st administration. Read the latest developments on gsuprn.com. On Thursday, the SGA Atlanta Senate voted unanimously in support of a policy resolution to urge the University System of Georgia to adopt an opt-in pass-fail grading system, all in a virtual meeting. The resolution, introduced by Speaker Pro Tempore Terry Fye, allows students to choose if they would like to use the system. Advocates say that the pandemic places stress on the shoulders of students and that this could prevent consequences to GPAs. For context, students looking to apply to medical school would have the decision to stick with the current grading system. Earlier this week, the University System of Georgia told PRN that they will not transition to the pass-fail system. The resolution now heads to the desk of the Administrative Council at Georgia State. See how the resolution unfolded at gsuprn.com. None of us exactly know when this is going to end. I know, it's tough. I've had moments myself, but PRN has come up with ways to make most of our social distancing. 1. Cleanup. This is the perfect time to clean up around the house and create a healthy environment for yourself. 2. Do your work. I know online classes can be tough, but try to wake up early and finish your homework so you have time for yourself. 3. Exercise and practice healthy living. As we mentioned early in the show, the recreation services have been doing their part to keep you active, and all of our homes have a free membership to work out. Let's take advantage of it. And lastly, PRN's ASHTON Gates has put together a list of museums that you can visit virtually on gsuprn.com. Since some of our schedules have cleared up, we now have a lot of time to be productive. PRN sends well wishes to everyone and thanks healthcare workers all across the nation. Also, spread love. We're all in this together. That's our show. Make sure to stay connected with PRN all throughout the week. During the break, we launched our website, gsuprn.com, and now you can find every story that we've discussed today all in one place. Continue to follow us on all social media platforms, also at GSUPRN. And subscribe down below and let us know what you're doing this time at home. I'm Kevin Sanchez. Stay safe, Georgia State, and we'll see you next week.